Hey, Vicky. Hey, everybody's coming. Hi, Paoli. Taylor. Let me send you guys a mic. I'm having some weather issues here. Just FYI, everybody. I'm so sorry. I have a we have a tornado watch or something, and I just lost power, so I'm just operating off my straight off my iPhone. So let's hope it goes okay. Let me get some mics to you. Just give me a second, please.
What's up, you guys? I'll help pass out some mics as well, Heather, just to take some of it off your plate.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Yo, what up?
Taylor. I thought I did
What
my.
is up? Happy Friday, you guys. I came prepared
Yeah.
for real this time. I got my food. I hope you all do too. I've got a nice cold drink. It is Friday afternoon. I'm ready to talk AI or at least learn
Yeah,
about it.
I didn't. I'm hungry. I forgot to order my food ahead of time, so I'm in trouble. Um, but thank you guys. Thank you so much. It's such a good week too to talk about things, but I'm having some weather issues. So if we get shut off, I'll try to open up another room right away. And Taylor might have the babysitting issue, so we'll see. We'll just play it by ear. I think I should be good. My phone's charged up, but I just can't really do much else in between there. But thank you all so much for coming. And I'm Heather Cooper, and I'm here with Taylor from The Sauce. And, I talk about AI and visual content and all that. So, this is our weekly generative AI space. And I'm excited because this week we're focusing on ControlNet. And I just kind of figured out exactly what ControlNet does, or not exactly, but I figured out what the big deal is. And now I'm obsessed too. So there's so many different things happening with that. And I know some of our guests today, Phygital Plus is here because they have some new ControlNet neural network features on their platform that they are going to talk about. And Billawal is here to talk about, he has quite an interesting, he has some really interesting tweets and YouTube videos about it. Matt Wolf, I'm calling you Matt Reflow. Matt Wolf is here because he's been putting out a lot of fire on YouTube and on Twitter for in reference to ControlNet. Orbify is here because he's gonna explain to us. Benji's gonna explain how the platform works, and there's just a lot to that. But I'm gonna let him get into that shortly. Leonardo has some neural networks, or they have some control net features they were going to talk about. Dreambox, they're launching, and I think they have some products that they might have made, or they have some concepts out already. So that's going to be really cool. And then we'll just play it by ear. So thank you all so much for just being patient. And I hope we can have a nice discussion today. And Taylor, you can go ahead and take over there.
Awesome. Cool. I just wanted to add to it that Heather, Visually AI, your newsletter is officially launching today, which I mean, we technically, I guess, already launched it, but the first edition of the newsletter is going out today. During this call, actually, there's a lot of really good insights. I had the pleasure of being able to kind of proof it and get a preview before it goes out. And we put a little bit of an Easter egg in there for you guys who scroll all the way down to the end. If any of you are so inclined to the Web3 space, you might like this one. So I pinned Heather, your newsletter up at the top. So definitely subscribe to that. If you get a chance, I promise it'll be worth your while. But yeah, I'm excited to be here, you guys. I know there's a lot of this ControlNet talk happening. I've been seeing it everywhere. I don't really understand it. And by the way, for anyone who's a speaker up here too, if you already have the mic, feel free to just take your turn and chat. No need to wait to be called on or anything like that. Just if there's an opening, you can go ahead and pipe in. I know that Heather has some weather issues as well, and so it's always a little crazy on a Friday evening, Friday afternoon. So yeah, just keep it natural. If we do have multiple people requesting the mic, we can go ahead and just, I'll keep an eye on it. Heather will keep an eye on it, and then we'll just go in that order. But if you do have a mic already, feel free to chime in. So, Heather, did you want to add anything else before we get started into some of this?
No, just everybody, I appreciate if you let us know how we're doing with the emojis. I can see that, and it helps us understand if it's
Yes, show us
resonating or
some
not.
signs
So
of life, you people. Come
please,
on.
and you can go ahead and please tweet out the room or just in the comments, please. As always, we like to put as much stuff as we can
Uh,
there. Any kind of
and it does. This is
resources
this
and
is really funny,
references.
like this awkward pause. Hi everyone, can everybody hear me well?
Oh yes, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, Fidgetal, can you hear me okay?
Huh,
Uh-oh.
I think I
It
can
might be
hear
one
you.
it
Yep.
might be one of those situations where we can hear them but they can't hear us.
I
Fidgetal, can you hear us?
Interesting. Let me rejoin.
That's good. That's cool. Uh,
Always something, right?
yeah,
On these
always.
Twitter spaces.
So, Matt, you want to go since you're in the loop or you're on the forefront of everything here? Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Yes. So the main theme, I guess, we're talking about ControlNet. So anybody who doesn't know what ControlNet is, it's essentially a add-on to Stable Diffusion, which allows you to get like the exact pose and the exact look that you want out of your images, right? So, everybody's probably familiar with Midjourney. Midjourney, you don't have like as much control as you probably want over the images. You could sort of type a prompt and it'll make a really cool looking image, but you can never really get the exact perfect thing that you're looking for. Now, if you're using Stable Diffusion and you have these ControlNet add-ons added to Stable Diffusion, you can change the things like the pose of the image. You can upload an image and it will read the depth map of the image and try to model the depth map. You can upload, there's a model inside of ControlNet called Canny, which sort of follows the outline of whatever image you feed it. There's all sorts of different models that you can add into this ControlNet feature in Stable Diffusion, which allows you to just get spot on the exact image you want. So what I love to do when I'm creating AI art is I love to do like a blend of Midjourney and Stable Diffusion with ControlNet. Midjourney makes these amazing scenes and backgrounds and just colorful, cool images. But then when I want to put an actual like person or subject inside the image, using something like Stable Diffusion with ControlNet, you can get that exact pose that you want, that exact image you want. And so, that's sort of the context of what we're speaking about here. So if anybody has no clue what ControlNet is, that's what it is. And it might be a little bit of an in the weeds topic here, but I think, some of the speakers that are on the stage here will probably help clarify, and some of the tools like what Fidgetal brings to the table and what you can do with Leonardo and tools like that. They're building these ControlNet features directly into their platforms now, so you don't have to figure out how to install Stable Diffusion locally and how to do all of the in the weeds craziness. So there's a little bit of context there, but I'm going to step back and let some of these builders speak. And I have opinions, but I don't have a lot of scientific knowledge on how this stuff works behind the scenes. So I'll jump in with my opinions from time to time, but I'll let the real experts speak on the expert stuff.
No, thank you for that. Thanks for explaining because yeah, you understand what people are commenting on in with the videos and different things, just trying to show them how they can use it. So I appreciate that breakdown. And Fidgetal, can you hear us?
Yes, absolutely. I can hear you. Hi
Okay.
everyone.
Okay. Hey, I'll let you go because I know just in case I don't want to lose you. Please, please welcome. Welcome.
Amazing. Well, hi everyone. Hi Matt, hi Heather, Taylor, Billowell, everybody else in the audience. It's really, really great to be here. I'm super excited about this space. This is our first space with Heather and Taylor, so I really hope that's not our last, and that we're gonna come to spaces, share what we're building, share how creators can use our tools, and just in general, like have a fun time. I really, really enjoy how generative AI space has been sort of like socially developing recently. So it's really, 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 really great to be here. But let me just briefly say, well, first of all, I represent Digital Plus, and we're a no-code AI workspace, so to speak. And I myself am also a creator, a visual creator. So I guess the best way to go off what Matt just said is, like if people are not familiar with ControlNet is, obviously you did an amazing job of describing it, but what we also can offer is that you can easily try it for free, and create something fun with it. So basically what Fidgetal is a free, limitless canvas where instead of right now where you think about all those different tools and all those different AI networks as sort of like being in their own separate spaces, and you have to download programs, you have to have memory, you have to have a graphics card, you have online in your web browser. So all you need to do is go to the website, Digital Plus, join the waitlist, then you enter the space, and basically you have a bunch of neural networks. Right now we have, I think, either 23 or 25, and ControlNet is one of them, where you can basically just, let's say, you want to build something and you want to use stable diffusion, and you also want to use disco diffusion and ControlNet, and then you want to do a 360 panorama. You can have all of these tools available to you at your fingertips on the same space. So it's basically, it kind of gives you like a full palette of all the colors, and then if you imagine yourself as an artist, you're able to draw with all of them and mix them and sort of layer them on top of each other in different scenarios. So like I said, we're a no code AI tool that makes it, as we hope, very accessible to people who are not so keen on, the technical details of how each neural network works. So our newest feature and our newest release is the ControlNet, something that people are super excited about. And for me as a visual creator and also designer, it's very important to actually have control over things and to be able to not just, express my ideas in an abstract way, but really pin down the things that I want to create. And so, because ControlNet is so good at it, we decided to create a challenge where people would be able to recreate their logos in any way they like, and it can be absolutely any logo. I think we actually have it pinned. Yeah, it's the first tweet that is pinned. It's called Fidgetal Challenge, Unleash Your Creativity with Fidgetal Challenge, where you can take any logo. It can be your own logo. It could be, Fidgetal logo, any other popular company, and you can then test it out with ControlNet on Fidgetal. And all you need to do is upload your image. Then you need to have ControlNet node, which is super easy. Just choose it from the menu. You connect them, boom. You'll be able to describe what you want, and you'll be able to choose from a couple of different types, a couple of different, what do they call them? So sort of like different features and different types of ControlNet. It could be a pose, it could be depth map, it can be one of those edges, so it can be a canny edge or a head edge. But basically just play around, see how it works. It's a very easy, sort of low risk way to just explore a new platform and make sure that you actually do understand how ControlNet works. You can test all of those different features. You can understand what works better for you. And you can also create a fun thing for your own website, for your own platform, because, there's different, like, there's no limits on what you can create and what logos you can use. So definitely do take part in the challenge. Share it with your friends. Do ask me questions. Shoot us the DM. We're always available, and we would really love to see how you create and what challenges you have, what questions you have. But yeah, I guess that's it for now. Again, if people have questions, absolutely happy to answer. And if some of them are beyond my technical expertise, which probably they would, I'd be able to refer them to the technical team that's actually building the product. So thank you.
You also have a very extensive library, a tools library, and the resources also. There's like some learning resources on there also. It's pretty expansive, and I know from using it myself, I made it too hard. I overthought it when I first started using it, and it's literally just you drag a node from one of the neural network, you just pull it onto there, drag it to the next, and it has a lot of instructions that pop up. I love those instructions, and it walks you through step by step right beside it. So it's just on top on the canvas with you. So if you're a little bit leery of using something like that, it's so simple. I really, really enjoyed it. I was able to animate my profile pic avatar within about two or 3 minutes. It was just like amazing. So, oh, she has to get the microphone back, but that was also very helpful. Let me see if I can get her back. Okay. Can you hear, or when you get a chance to speak? It's connecting. Okay, go ahead. Did you want to you follow up with that?
No, I think I got rugged. But hopefully I didn't interrupt anybody. Um,
Oh, no, no, no.
yeah,
You're fine.
awesome. Okay, awesome, great.
Anybody have any questions for about Phygital? Because I know it's a lot of people didn't seem too familiar with it. So,
I'm still a little unclear with what Phygital is,
okay.
the actual software tool itself. So is it like a tool where you can go and give it a prompt and it'll generate images and then you can use ControlNet? Is it like a cloud version of Stable Diffusion? I'm still trying to understand it myself a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so let me explain. Um, what you said is true, but I think there is more to it. So once you log in, you'll see an infinite canvas that you can drag and drop all the neural networks that we have from the left side menu. So you'll see a list of all the different neural networks. So, there's Stable Diffusion 2.1, 1.5, Kandinsky. You can generate faces, Disco Diffusion, style transfer, and a lot of those things. So you can just drag and drop them, and it will appear as a little node. So basically, as a little window where, let's say, so you drag and drop Stable Diffusion. So what you're able to do is you're able to type in a prompt. You're able to control a lot of different little things, but you don't have to. So basically, you can just write in the prompt. You click on start, so it starts generating, and it does it on the cloud. So no need to have any powerful graphic card whatsoever. So let's say you generate an image, and then you decide that you would like to take this image as an input. Like, it looks really good, but it's still not quite, maybe it has a nice shape, but you want it to look different, to have a different style. So what you will do next is you will again go to the left side menu, and from the big list, you will choose ControlNet node, and then you'll drag and drop it. So now what you can do is connect these two nodes, and then ControlNet will take your previous original image as an input, and then you'll be able to describe your new image to ControlNet. And it all basically happens in those little windows. So each of the windows, you can think of it as um, sort of like little beads if you're creating a necklace. Like, you're able to control exactly each of those little beads so that the final necklace you create is exactly how you want it to be. So what we offer is that space where you can just drag and drop and put things in different order and put all the different neural networks in different order. Um, and that way you're able to sort of create your work just in one space, and you don't have to jump over to different windows. You don't have to have, like I said, any powerful graphic card, because it all happens online. All you need to have is a laptop. And so that's one thing. And also, um, talking about prompts, we do have a lexica.art integration where you don't even have to go to Lexica to search for prompts. And for those who don't know, there's lexica.art. It's a really good place for people to search for good prompts and to just copy and paste them and modify them the way you want to achieve whatever look you want. So we have that as well. We also have in painting. So there's a bunch of tools sort of for people to explore and create their own recipe. And we're not really there, to tell people use this node and then connect it to that one. We really want to see creators explore and really get creative and make sure that they have all those tools available, or as many as we can provide. Um, and then, see what they come up with. We also have templates. So for people who are, scared of just having a white canvas and blank canvas and don't know what to start with, we have around 10 to 15 different templates where you can animate your PFP, or you can also create game assets. So just a little thing that you can try out, where all the nodes are pre-connected and pre-selected for you, so you don't really have to do anything. You just need to see and sort of just click on run and see how the whole thing works. And then the second thing that is also complementary to what we're building. So one is a tool, and then the second part is the AI library. And it's just sort of a complementary product to the tool itself, where, maybe you want to read more about how ControlNet works. So you would go to the library, and then we have a lot of educational materials, digests, newsletters for people to learn more about the tool itself. And at the same time, we also have a full library, which has an entire list of different AI applications that use different neural networks. So it's basically like a way for people to think, um, sort of like in two ways about Phygital. One is we do provide the tool, which we think is super powerful and is a great way for people to test out different neural networks. And there's also a library where people can explore different AI tools, learn more about them, add their own tool, and it's sort of more like an informational, educational section.
Gotcha. So earlier you mentioned it was like a no code builder. So if I was to go in there and build like a workflow, right, and it runs through Stable Diffusion, and then maybe it does a background remove, and then it does an upscale, and I built this like visual flow of things.
Mm-hmm.
Am I able to go and allow other people to like run with the flow that I built? Can I offer that as a service? Is that kind of how that works?
That's a great question. So we do have that would be essentially a template, and you're able to save them right now to your own account. But for now, we do not that capability that you can easily share it with people. But that's something in our roadmap, and we're actually talking about it just recently this week, because a lot of creators were asking, like if I create a super powerful scenario, a template of how I think things should be run to achieve a certain output, then like why can I not share it with others? Like of course you can do a screenshot or a screen grab and just explain it to people, but it would be amazing to have a template and be it readily available and easy to share. So we do have that in the roadmap.
Very cool. Yeah, I like the visual builder approach. It seems like a completely different approach than I've seen any of these other tools sort of approach it in. So I like what you're doing there.
Thanks.
Yeah, to add to that, I mean, the node-based thing, even if you have a GPU, like just to play with ControlNet, you have to open up like After Effects or whatever compositing tool of choice or Photoshop and like do stuff. And if you could do all those operations in this sort of node graph visual fashion, oh my God, like so I just signed up first off, so selfish plug there. Second question is, can you process video through your platform?
Not right now. There is, there's just a way to morph, and there's just a way to sort of input them as individual frames, which would take, I mean, for long videos, a very long amount of time. But essentially, where we're going, we really would love to be able to process videos and work with 3D as well. So that is something that we're aiming towards. But for now, want to make sure that things that are already there on Canvas, they work well. So far it's just images and some sort of short animations that's basically just a series of frames going one after another. So things like morph or like styling PFPs where they just sort of like move a little bit, but not like full scale videos.
Got it. Can you batch process images? Like if I have 10 images and I want to batch process them?
Yeah, so we do have a feature where you can connect all 10 of them, and then I think I can get back to you on that, because I'm pretty sure that we can easily upload them and they only show up as one node. So instead of like having all of them, like you upload hundreds of images, like you wouldn't have hundreds of different nodes on your canvas, you'd have just one node. But in terms of batch processing them like you would, let's say, in Photoshop, I'm not sure about that, but that definitely would be a great feature.
Cool. Well, either way, I look forward to playing with it. It certainly is a pain in the behind to have to wrangle all these components together. And so you have a bunch of components here that I haven't even played with. So I'm looking forward to diving in.
That's amazing. And that's actually sort of one of the goals, is to offer so many tools to people that, that they don't know even about, or they haven't tried, because, like you said, sometimes to download things and to figure out how it works, sort of like it just takes away the joy of actually creating. And we want to make sure that people do focus, and creators actually focus on creating and things that they do best. And then if they ever want to learn more about it, then, they can go either to our library or they're able to learn on their own. But this sort of first date and, the first time they meet the tool, we want to make sure that it goes as smoothly as possible. So if, they just discover it on the left side menu and they realize, oh, like I've never seen that and I want to try it, like we want to make sure it's as simple as just clicking on that neural network, dragging and dropping it to a canvas, and then setting up whatever they need to set up and just hit run. So we're really happy that some of the networks that you've seen is not something that you've played with. So definitely do sign up for the waitlist. And for people who will be taking part in the challenge, which runs from starting today up until next Friday, we will definitely expedite the process of processing and onboarding people and going through the wait list. So if you do sign up through the link that you have in the pinned tweet, then we'll definitely make sure that you have access within 24 hours. We'll do our best to really expedite the process for people who want to take part in the challenge, meaning people who want to start creating with ControlNet.
Dave, did you have a question, or Linus, or anybody for Fidgetal?
I was just trying to sign up for the wait list, so I was unfortunately caught with my mic. No, I don't really have.
Oh,
I have some thoughts around how cool it is to be able to like move between tools that are new and exciting. And I think like I don't know. I don't want to go off on a tangent before we finish this, but I'll come back when you guys want to pivot a little bit.
thank you. And I agree, because yeah, Fidgetal, they reached out to me, and I'm so glad, because I had no idea what the platform was, and it's just utterly amazing. You can't imagine. I can't think of anything else that's even close to that, and how simple it is. And there's just so much available. You even have Dream Booth, and I think you said because of the cost, you'd have to pay a monthly fee for the subscription for that. But there's so many other things, style transfer, just all kinds of things that you can do. I can't even remember, but it's such a cool platform. So you guys, please take advantage of it. It's amazing, the things that you have right at our fingertips now. But let me see. Oh, Bilawal, did you want to talk a little bit about ControlNet? Or do we want to like Orbify? I don't know. It's up to you.
Yeah, it's a good. I mean, I think Matt did a good job of the summary there. Maybe we've got some new people. We could do like a quick, like, why the hell can't people shut up about ControlNet? Maybe we can answer that question. Because it is widely popular. I will say this: I got access to Gen 1 last night, and just on this note of Fidgetal making stuff easy. After like, I don't know if y'all have seen my threads. Like, the workflow is pretty complicated, and after that, I was like, dragging a video and a photo into this like Discord UI and getting really good results. I was like, what have I been doing? That's hard. It's like this constant realization that you have when new tools come out. But to add to what Matt previously said about ControlNet, right? Like, what is this thing? So let's do a couple-minute primer. And maybe what would be cool to do is if folks can like find interesting things that they've made, or stuff that they've seen other people make with ControlNet, and just like queue those posts up and pin them. And then we could kind of go around and just talk about the awesome use cases, right? Because I'm going to nerd out about the tech just a little bit here. I'm not going to get into like zero convolutions or anything like that, but just why ControlNet is as seminal as like Dream Booth for like this, generative AI movement. And then we can kind of just do this, like, go in a circle and just share some cool stuff people are doing with the damn thing. So, all right, what is ControlNet? Well, basically, it's this way to take large pre-trained diffusion models like Stable Diffusion and then extend them to support additional input conditions. These are the conditions that Fidgetal, Matt, and folks have been talking about, things like the edge maps, the segmentation maps, the key point. What's also interesting is it's as fast as fine tuning as it is to like fine tune a Dream Booth model or something like that, which is kind of wild. So the basic idea of ControlNet is that your diffusion model works in tandem with this second model trained on a specific task. What I mean by specific task is like in AI, a subset of AI is computer vision, and it's this like really well established space with a bunch of task specific models, like a bunch of the stuff that Fidgetal actually has on their site too. So for example, if you want to look at a RGB monocular, photo, like just a 2D photo, and you want to estimate the depth of the scene, right? Get that grayscale map that tells you the distance of everything from, the camera viewpoint that this photo was taken. You can use there's a bunch of depth estimation models out there. Similar things with inferring the full body pose of a human, right? Like, where are the key points corresponding to the various joints of a human just based off a photo? Things like dense pixel segmentation. How do you annotate like each pixel in an image and say that, hey, like, this is a person, this is a building, this is grass, etc. So ControlNet, asks the question of how do you take advantage of these well-formed capabilities that already exist and control this diffusion process, right? Because I think Matt put it beautifully earlier. It's like you're in Midjourney, you're typing out text prompts, and you're doing a lot of trial and error, right? So, text is this very like fickle way to describe a super complex scene, the lighting conditions, the pose of the characters within it, all of this type of stuff. And so, enter ControlNet, and now you can basically take advantage of all these like, building blocks in the computer vision space and use them to guide the diffusion process. So what that means is like if you're an artist that learned how to, like knows how to use a Wacom tablet or knows sketching like in real life or whatever, you can now use like your outlines and provide the line work and then have Stable Diffusion fill in the colors for you, for example. So you can have that level of control too. And the last thing I'll say, just to nerd out about this and just on like a testament to how fast the space moves. It's like, if you ask anyone in the research community, they're all going to be like, yo, this looks so obvious in hindsight, right? And this isn't also new. Stable Diffusion 2.0, if you remember, they rolled out support for something called depth to image. I talked about this extensively just because I freaking love depth maps. I think I have some lifelong love for depth maps themselves, but they started heading in this direction where you could, use something like Midas, right? Which lets you take an image, estimate the depth. It's like this world-class depth estimation, model by Intel researchers. However, it was tied to Stable Diffusion 2.0. And also the depth of resolution, like the resolution of the depth map that it was trained on was pretty low. Then along comes ControlNet, which supports higher res depth maps and is cheaper to train. So like we're already at this place where stability spent like, let's say, a lot of money, and along comes ControlNet by like a Stanford grad student that shows competitive results with a single gaming grade GPU, what it took, like stability, a freaking large computation cluster with like terabytes of GPU memory, to achieve similar results. Like that's absolutely wild. And that's why ControlNet is super awesome and exciting. If, Dream Booth gave us a way to like, introduce entities that we want to be consistent in the world, now we can have that and use it in concert with all these other ways to sort of provide guardrails to the diffusion process to really turn that vision in your head into something that like corresponds almost directly to it. So that's a little bit about ControlNet, why it's cool, why it's like going to be as seminal as Dream Booth. And now I'd love to hear from folks on awesome examples they've got.
No, for sure. You know what? I think you just hit the nail on its head, really. It's like basically like you described it really, really well, and it's just like such a good summary. Like kudos to that. But like I think the first thing like I personally was wondering about is that why is this thing getting so popular? Like whenever like people are talking about it a lot, that's when actually the bell rings. They're like, okay, something cool is going on here. A lot of cool people have been experimenting with it. But in a nutshell, it just gave a lot more control to people. And that's one issue that perhaps ControlNet has been solving is that people didn't have enough control of the end result. Midjourney always gives outstanding generations, but perhaps sometimes you wanted to create something exact, something that you would expect, and that's what ControlNet enables. There's like a lot more control towards the end result. And it's like people started freaking out about it, and we're like, God damn it, what is going on? And it reminds me of the beauty of this space and just like how fast everything is evolving, right? And again, it reminds me of the beauty of this community. Like people are sharing, there's an open mind, everything is open source. And we, even ourselves, we encourage people to make sure that everything is open source because that's how things, can move forward in a really, really fast way and make sure that everything is properly distributed, properly decentralized, and just like keep the code open and keep it open. And that's how humanity can actually evolve. And this is just like a small example, but it's a big testament. And why Stable Diffusion has been so successful. It is because of its open source mindset, right, and approach. So ControlNet is an addition to that, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more and awesome, tools and neural networks, that actually empower people to do cool stuff. Because at the end of the day, all the tech is great, but we have to ask ourselves, what can we do to empower people with? What can we do to make actually literally people's lives better and like enable them to literally unleash their creativity better? And that's what it's all about. Perhaps it might increase, happiness, enthusiasm in people's hearts. It will enable people to do better jobs in their daily lives. And that's the end goal, like boosting human imagination, giving them, boosting creativity. And I think it's just really, really powerful. But going back to ControlNet, like everyone, I'm pretty sure was like, what the hell is going on with this? And it's just amazing, right? So this is like my 2 cents on this.
Thank you so much, Benji. I appreciate it, and that's pretty much what a lot of us are feeling too. And once you figure it out, it's just like, wow, what's the significance? I didn't know. I didn't pay attention to that Scribble app at first. I'm like, well, it looks kind of silly. But then when I finally realized, like, oh, that's crazy. It really just turned my scribble into an image that fast, and it's just the thought of how quickly all these things happen, it's just it's unbelievable, and I don't think most people really understand that. And that's the power of like week to week. This is just it's amazing how much is going on.
Absolutely. And I'm pretty sure even as of next week, I'm pretty sure something new is going to come out. Right. And that's how, all of us, I guess, here, our job is actually experiment with it, deploy it, and try to develop it as well in all the, in our own ways. The code is there, and generally code is very flexible. So, that's what we can do as, as developers, like to experiment with it and try to deploy it to as many people as we can. Right. But yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Dave. Dave, you can go ahead. You guys don't have to wait. If you have a mic, if you want to speak when somebody's finished, go ahead. Your hand's up.
All right, I'll go.
Oh,
Sorry, I rushed there a little bit.
Linus.
Go ahead, Linus. My fault.
They were both going at the same time. I was used to being like showing courtesy. I was waiting, so sorry. I think, but back up to ControlNet, like Scribble, because I mean, there's so much stuff going on now. I'm feeling my head is just blown out of the water. What everyone is doing with ControlNet and all the different areas of ControlNet as well. But Scribble for me personally was like a big aha last week, I think, or the week before when it got released. I think the day after, because me and my co-founder were just like, man, I wonder if we can get our kids. They're very young. Like my oldest daughter, she's barely 3, but she scribbles a lot and she paints a lot with crayons. Like, I wonder if we can get her to like do something on the iPad and then like have it turn into something, and then we can plug that into bedtime story and like play with it that way, and maybe generate a story from the image. So that's what we've been doing now. We're just playing around with like ControlNet Scribble to try to get kids to do stuff like on the iPad or even on a photo, and then have the parents just take a photo of the scribble and then upload it and then generate that way. It's really interesting what we can do. Almost feels like an art project. You're doing things in reverse rather than like doing it the other way around. So I just wanted to add that, like, yeah, it's so much stuff. Like my head is just blown away by what you can do and what you can. There seems to be no limit to these things. So just wanted to add that to the conversation. And hi, I'm sorry I'm late. So hi everyone.
Yeah, I'll jump in and kind of share some of the thoughts. It's really wild to be, I think for all of us, kind of clearly like jumping into new things that are coming out every week or trying stuff. And it's funny, I feel like I'm the product of a lot of this, which is like I don't have an artistic bone in my body, but I've had a lot of creative things that I've wanted to make my whole life. And I have 2 left hands when I try to draw or paint. But then I found Midjourney like 3 or 4 months ago, and a lot of the things in my head for stories or ideas or things that I wanted to come to life, I was like, oh, wait a minute, like I can actually do this now because I can think words pretty well and I can put those in context. And then it's funny, the way being here is that from Midjourney, the YouTube algorithm clearly listened to me, and I found Matt's channel, and then it was like down a rabbit hole of finding 5 different more tools and trying this. And the coolest thing is that the jumping between tools makes unbelievable things. So like I was able to take some ideas from Midjourney, put them into an animation, put them out into an editing software, put them back into Midjourney, put them into Caber, take that, put that back into Midjourney, put that into ChatGPT. And when you go around a couple different tools 4 or 5 times and you find some overlaps, it's like mind blowing what can come out of it. And I think that's like the coolest part of the space is the overlap and the intersections right now between a video software, an audio software, a text software. And that's what's so cool to see is like, someone like myself who, I probably never would have been able to create, the story. I'm using AI to make an entire sci-fi story I've wanted to write my whole life. I've been able to create the concept art for about like 250 different characters, ideas, scenes, theories in the arc of the story that would have cost me thousands of dollars to do in a traditional media platform. You know what I mean? And so like the ability to very fastly move through concepts or very fastly move across ideas, I think is one of the most exciting things, because in-game assets, for example, for video games, or NFT brands that are just starting up and they're trying to create a storytelling, that's really cool to see those people who would usually have to shell out thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars be able to do that with fractions of that. And I think that's what's so exciting about the space right now, is the intersection of ideas and sharing and opportunity. You know what I mean? So that's what I just want to share. And is a thank you to Matt for the content, but also a thank you to everybody here who's putting out tools and sharing ideas, because it's fun to be just bouncing around things right now and seeing what's going to happen on it.
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
think this is the era of the ideas person. Sorry, I'm going to give you back the mic, Matt. But I think we're entering the era of, the ideas person win. We've been in this kind of era where you've had to have a lot of technical expertise to kind of do stuff. But now, the barrier to entry is so low that I'm not saying we're dumb or anything, but the fact that, you don't have to have skills that are necessarily like take tens of thousands of hours to acquire to get started. Basically, you have to just be able to communicate in text. And I think this is going to open up, like, imagine when 100 millions of people or a billion people using these tools, the world is going to be a very different place. That's it from my point of view.
Yeah, I actually went off on a rant on one of my videos recently about how, I've never been able to even draw like a stick figure, right? I've had no artistic ability my whole life, just never been able to do anything. If you've watched my videos, in some of my videos, I tried to draw like a cat or a penguin, and they look horrible, right? But this AI art sort of revolution that we're going through has really enabled me to take the visions that I have in my mind and actually create something out of them, right? So I make my own YouTube thumbnails using these various AI tools. And I think a part of the reason my YouTube channel has done well is because of these thumbnails. And like what I'm doing is I'm taking Midjourney and I'm generating the background with Midjourney, and then I'm taking I use Dream Booth to train my face into Stable Diffusion, and then I'm generating an image inside of Stable Diffusion of my face in sort of like a cartoony way. And now with ControlNet, I can actually get the exact pose that I want on the image. Before, I was trying to make these thumbnails and I would say, like, draw a picture of Matt, pointing over here, or draw a picture of Matt shrugging. And I was never able to get the exact image that I had in my brain onto the image on the screen. And now ControlNet, I can just go do a quick Google image search, find somebody doing the pose that I want in my image, pull it into Stable Diffusion, and get the exact vision that I had. And, I know there's a lot of debate around whether what we're creating is art or not. But in my mind, I have a vision, and I'm using multiple different tools that, some of them still require a little bit of skill and learning and, practice to actually get good at. And I'm taking all of these tools and I'm pulling this tool and this tool and this tool, like what Dave was saying. I'm pulling all of these tools together, and I'm taking a vision from my brain and turning it into an image using just a combination of tools. And if that's not art, I mean, I don't know what is. I would argue that that's art, is taking that vision and then taking the skill sets that I've developed to be able to use all of these various tools and bring them together to get an image. I mean, how is that different than, having a camera, taking a photo, pulling it into Photoshop, and then compositing it with other images that I find on the internet, right? If that's considered art, why isn't what I'm doing considered art? So, I just wanted to have a little rant there for a moment, because I feel like this really empowers people to take that vision in their brain and use these various tools to get that exact vision on paper. And since the topic of this space here is ControlNet just made that 100x easier for everybody.
100% agree. Sorry if it came out the other way. I really agree 100% with everything you said. I mean, if that's not art, then what is? I mean, people put a a bag of trash in a plexi box and then put it in the Met or in MoMA, and then that's art. It sells for a million, right? So it definitely is art. And these skills that we're developing, there is very few people in the world currently that are able to navigate this space this quickly and this briefly, and like just soaking up all this new tech. So I think, if anything, we're outliers and we're very good. very good artists, but we're not using traditional tools. So in hindsight, these tools will look traditional, but now they're just looking weird to everyone on the other side or on the outside.
Yeah, and one more note before I kind of just step down for a bit and do some work. But you have to remember, and I think the way I view it as these are all tools and the outcome is art, right? Like for Matt, for example, like I think one of his skill sets is taking all these tools, creating thumbnails, creating content, editing videos, making something watchable. And like the art is teaching Matt, you know what I mean? Like the art is the output. For some people like myself, the art is not creating pictures that look like the things I want in my head for a story. My art is creating a really cool sci-fi fantasy story that has a lesson and storytells and teaches and has ideas behind it. Like in the same way, I think that like you could compare Midjourney to a paintbrush. You could compare, Caber to a palette, right, or something of an art mixture you make, and the actual output is the picture you see at the end. And so that's how I view these things when people ask me about it, because I have a lot of friends in the NFT space where I come from that are like hardcore artists. Like they literally paint their own NFTs, draw their own NFTs. And when I first started creating stuff for the book I was making, I like put it into their channels. And they're like, oh, it's just different. It's just not, I can draw with my hands and you can draw with your mind. And I was like, that's really interesting. You know what I mean? So I think that the end emergence property of all the tools together is what art comes out to be, or what storytelling comes out to be, or what brand comes out to be. Right. So I don't think it as I think like we're cheating. I think it's just completely different. Like it's the same way there's oil paint versus watercolor versus some people do VR art. Like it's all different. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on it before I let somebody else chat.
I got to jump in on that and just say, hey, really well put, Dave. Like, oh my god, and your point about putting these primitives together, whether that's traditional tools with AI, it like certainly also applies to AI tools themselves. And what's kind of interesting, to go back to Linus's point about the pace, or Matt's point about how he's composing these primitives together to like solve the problem of how to make high CTR thumbnails, right? Like, which is a total business and design problem, and he's leveraging the tools to make that stuff happen. It's absolutely art. Also, LOL at trash in a museum, like I don't know what society's come to, but what's also interesting, whenever these new models drop, there's this like couple month phase where people haven't even put all the primitives together in the obvious combinations. And that to me is just like always so exciting. And with ControlNet, this is like so true. I pinned 2 posts by Toy XYZ. Highly recommend following this person. I don't know if anyone on the stage knows this person. We should like invite this person on at some point, because absolutely prolific. And the 2 examples I want to talk about is like, we talked about how ControlNet gives you these methods, right, to exert control over diffusion. The magic is when you start putting those things together. So you might have seen some posts, like I posted about this too, like multi-control net, right? Like, so if you look at the example, you've got the second post, I think, is like essentially just like, here's the pose of the character. And so that's like the stick figure, essentially, with the key points of the various joints and so forth. But then the hands, right? We are all like, holy shit, how do you do hands? Well, so like Toy XYZ's workaround here is like, I'm just going to have CG hands, and then I'm going to take like the synthetic depth map of the hands and use that to just force consistency there in the diffusion process. So this way now you're using one ControlNet method to provide like the overall positioning and pose of the human. And then you're using like, another layer to give that fine grained like depth information for where the hands should be, and the pose of those hands is sort of baked into the depth map itself, right? So that's like freaking magical, first off. And you could take this all over the place. Like, I still think all possible, combinations of like control net methods haven't been solved. And of course, people are going to, or haven't been played with, and people are going to train even newer methods, right? Because the paper tells you how you can do that, which is awesome. And now it's cheaper to train. So that's wild. The second thing I wanted to just talk about is how this comes together to construct a scene. So in the first post I pinned with Toy XYZ, here's this like Blender CG shot. Okay, now I don't need to worry about texturing. So I could like kit bash a bunch of assets together. Like literally I'm playing with 3D Legos. You've got the synthetic depth map from that, which looks way better than if you try and estimate the depth map, though those algorithms are getting pretty damn good too. And then you've got a separate pass where you define the pose of the character, right? The character is sitting on the staircase. Now, prompting this exact final output might be hundreds of iterations in Midjourney. I'm sure you could get there, but it would be a lot of trial and error. And now again, like, you're able to exert control and different forms of control, right? And so now you can't just, now you're not just limited to text to talk to these models or work with these models. you can use like visual information too. And so I think that's super exciting. And it begs the question of how the hell is all of this going to impact the future of 3D engines, right? Like if you could have like this super low fidelity, maybe classical web 3D engine running, and on top of that, you're just like, essentially running ControlNet plus stable diffusion at 30 frames per second. Like, what does that mean? Like, things are going to get really wild. And so I don't know if Robert Scoble is still in the audience, but it'll get holodeck very quickly, right? Like you're able to reskin freaking reality. So some of the things I'm stoked on.
One thing I want to say is based on what everybody just talked about, really want to go back and give ourselves and all the creators, due credit to, we just talked about, like, oh, some people think that, artists just do it because they want to skip a step or they want to sort of cheat the system. And especially for people who are traditional artists and they go into this new generative AI space, they receive a lot of hate. But what we just talked about, it is absolutely like the polar opposite of, skipping steps or sort of being closed-minded. Because if you think about how much mental flexibility is needed to, first of all, not only understand, the variety and diversity of all these models and all these tools, but also to understand how the system works and how to navigate it and how to talk to it, and in general, how to create with a new mindset and a new understanding of what creation is. Because like we just talked about, where you have prompt engineering, which that, first of all, like, you're not just talking in words, like you talk in tokens, and you do need to understand how to combine those certain tokens, and you need to have a fluency in concepts, analogies, styles, references, and all those things to create something that you actually want. It's not just mindlessly typing something and being and creating an absolute masterpiece. In Billowell, you just talked about depth maps, rigs, creating those sort of like stick figures. But it's not just stick figures. You need to understand so many things, not just about human anatomy, but also about how the system views those images and how the system views those rigs. So really just want to, sort of reflect on that and say that all those artists, especially the ones who are traditional, who are hesitating and thinking that, oh, like, are people going to judge me? Are they going to think about it? Like, I'm too tired and I just want to skip, all the hard parts and cheat the system. No, like, you are being open-minded, you're being so flexible, and you're actually entering the new space where all your creativity is not going to be lost. Like, you're going to just amplify and supercharge it with all these new tools. And to actually navigate them, we need creative people, because people who don't want to think and people who just want to cheat the system, they wouldn't be able to create all of those things that we have here right now, like pinned on our tweets, because these are some extremely creating pipelines and workflows. And like I said, it was just sort of me ranting and reflecting on some of the things I've been hearing recently, and being super inspired by all the works that you've just shared and your pipelines and workflows. This is super exciting.
Just to put an exclamation point on what you just said there, when I make the thumbnails for my YouTube videos, I often spend just as much time, if not more, making the thumbnails than what it actually takes me to record the videos. So just wanted to put that exclamation mark there for anybody who thinks that this is a shortcut, because I put quite a bit of time into it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I spend a lot of time it just planning and just imagining, what are you going to do with this? What can I do with this? It stimulates your mind and it sparks more creativity. I found where I just look at things and try to think of, how could I make that interesting, or what could I do? And then seeing other examples. That's the best part. It's just exciting every day. Now, Vicky, you had your hand up. Did you want to speak?
Oh, did, yeah. I'm trying to do in between. Customers keep coming in. These customers really ruin my vibe. I think I might lock the door. Um, yeah, as you can tell by my voice, I get super excited. I'm like, I want to do AI all the time. I really don't want to help these customers, but I've made notes on here, like, just to try and keep myself on track, because I'm just so excited. It's like being on Red Bull every time I open my laptop or my phone. And I just don't think most people outside of kind of our niche on Twitter or Web3 really understand what we are going through, which is we're going through a huge renaissance in art, where obviously there's kind of the infighting, which is people over history fighting about digital, fighting about photography. it's great because it's just what humans do. They've got to argue about something. But also what I'm seeing is I do a daily space, and we generally get about maybe 20 to 30 people every day. But those that come up are like me, they're super excited. And we're seeing a collaboration of ideas, which is brainstorming. Well, have you seen this today? No. Have you seen that today? And then we're all kind of DMing each other literally hourly. And fashion, Web 2, Web 3 is one of the talking points this week, where we said that the brands that come in, they're Web 2, but they will be creating digital outfits, probably with the help of people like us, where we create fashion items that people can wear in the metaverse, which then there'll be links where they can actually buy and have those things shipped home. So Web 3 actually going to like Web 2 as well. And then my final point as well that I wrote down there is, Matt, I knew you were going to say you probably spend a lot of time on your thumbnails. I actually know several people that spend thousands on thumbnails for their YouTube. But what a prime time to basically get your community, because people love making AI, to make the thumbnails for you. And you might find that you actually save, like you can look through visually and go, well, that will work, that won't. But then have a reward to somebody in the community that you feature once a week or once a month that made you a cool thumbnail. It's just a great way to get the community kind of really rallying around. And also they might find new things, like I'm finding when people share with me that, you've never seen before. But yeah, I'm just super excited. Thanks, everyone.
No, thank you so much, Vicky. I appreciate that. And it is kind of like we end up like kind of just going on for hours because it's so much fun. But I know, wait, a Kodakai weather reporter, I think you had your hands up. Did you want to say something about ControlNet or about what we were talking about? I
Hi.
was trying to stay on track here somewhat, but I love the conversation.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Just a couple of comments. One was like one of the most important concepts I ever learned was called the ladder of abstraction, which is where the more concrete things are at the bottom and the more abstract things are up the ladder. It's a pretty intuitive sort of concept. It's actually even the very concept itself, ladder abstraction, has both the concrete and the abstract in there. So the point I want to make is these technologies have opened up or have empowered minds that are better at abstraction and not very good at details. I'm sure there's a lot of people here who are like me, who are not very good at details, right? Overwhelmed by details, not very good at logistics, right? It'd be great. You're always wishing to have some sort of partnership with people who are good at logistics, just to take that stuff away from you, right? Because you're not very good at that stuff, but you're good at ideas and you're good at integrating information and you're good at pulling together things together, maybe for stories or visuals or even business ideas. But you're more of that sort of visionary type, and unless you had like a lot of capital or you had a lot of people or whatever, it was just latent. It wasn't helping the world and it wasn't helping you, right? So now it's this technology's come along and it's promised to provide.
No, did we lose him at the right? I was like on the edge of my seat there.
Sorry, I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, you're
I'm
back.
not sure what happened.
Yeah.
We're just entered a time when this technology can start doing things that are really threatening to people. But if you really think about it, it's the things that humans aren't good at. Like, so for example, someone says, I've spent 10 years learning to draw. Well, that's because we're not good at it. Right? Like, we're not good at that. It's not where our natural human genius is. But you know what our natural human genius is? It's vision, it's language, right? It's our ability to cooperate. These are the things that make us human. And this technology is liberating us all, right? And I think that there's some people who've invested so much time in the low-level skills. These are very impressive skills, right? It's like, say, someone who spends 20 years learning to do gymnastics. It's incredibly impressive, right? But it's now opened up this area for people who are never really good at that stuff, right? Never really good at that low-level detail stuff. And I speak as a martial artist who has got good at low-level details when it comes to physical movement, but I've never been able to draw, right? There's just a block between my mind and my hand. It doesn't work that way, right? So this technology has just completely opened that up, this latent ability. And I feel like, well, I can now give to the world whatever this is, and I just think that that's multiply that by several billion people. That's what I think. I think it's an incredibly exciting time, and I think the people who are resisting the technology, there may be either they'll eventually get bored around to it, or they may be people who know their own self-interest in the sense that they know that they're very, very good at the low-level concrete details. They work on the lower-level details and not very good at the more abstract stuff. They're not very, very visionary as artists. They're more technicians. So it may take some time, 10, 20, 30 years, or another cycle before technology comes around to enable them in some new way that we can't even predict now. So I'll stop there and see if anyone wants to say anything about that.
Yo, that resonated deeply with me. I think your point about like details are things that, yes, that's where the craft is, right? Like the sort of the baling wire and duct tape of, and just like sort of the repetitive rote, I don't even want to say rote memorization, but certainly a lot of practice is required and hours are required to get to certain points. I think the best, another analogy that comes to mind is like, when electronic music sort of took off and you were able to, in this sort of MIDI DAW environment, start doing things that an ensemble of instruments would do. I don't think that took away from the ensemble of instruments either, right? I think it expands the canvas, it creates new canvases, so it's not necessarily zero sum. But what I will say is, like, I think, to summarize and just to repeat, because I love it, is with ControlNet 2, like, we are now able to operate at this higher level of abstraction, and we don't have to worry about the details. Like, here's like the blocked out shot. Now let me try 20, 30, 40 different, like, scene layout combinations while keeping that structure intact, or all this type of stuff. I think just like gets way more excited and lets us focus on the vision and get rid of the drudgery. And I'll make a prediction now. Like, I think even in a year from now or 2 years from now, other people will be getting into AI, perhaps that were initially resistant for creation purposes. And we're going to be like, I remember in my day, you had to, like, duct tape some collabs together, and like you had to download these checkpoints and like do all this stuff. And like now you all just have this like fancy node-based tool. This is bullshit. This isn't real AI art. So I can't wait for that, because given at the rate things are going, it's going to happen pretty quick.
Yeah, I think your prediction will definitely come true. That's almost guaranteed. What I want to say about the ControlNet thing is, I would put it as more like that's tweaking on the ladder of abstraction, right? It's moving down a level where you need to have more control of some of the concrete details, which is, I want their arm to be like here. I want there to be two people facing each other. And I think that's amazing, because we've been working at this very, very high level, and that's great because that suits my way of thinking. But I want to work my way down, because I'm a top-down thinker. And I wanted to eventually have it so you can tweak down to the lowest detail you want, right? So then that's when the bottom up thinkers get on board, in a sense, right? Because it suits their brains, right? They work from the bottom up until they get to the top. I don't think one's better than the other. I just think that the technology is enabling for the first time, because human beings are infinitely variable. We're not the same. Everyone is different, and that's a glorious thing. And I really, really, truly believe this, that this kind of informed by things like neurodiversity sort of movements and so on. If you generalize that principle just to everyone, as opposed to people who have just autism or things like that, we're all unique, right? And if you really crunch the numbers in terms of the permutation space of your particular personality, there is never going to be another person like you in the history of this universe, no matter if it goes for trillions and trillions of years, right? And so we're moving into a time when this technology could actually allow each individual person to contribute and to add value, and in a way that only they know how to do. That's a pretty exciting future. And I see a kind of transition in the art. I'm seeing more, what's the word? Hope in the art. The artists here are starting to put their excitement in their art, and it's actually showing, wait, we've got it. I can see an exciting future. Whereas for such a long time, I don't know about you, but in mainstream media and stuff, it's been pretty depressing. It's been pretty demoralizing. And the art that gets celebrated is often pretty downer stuff. And I'm not saying that there can't be a place for dark. If you look at my art, I do very dark stuff sometimes, but also very the opposite of that. I just think that's fine. But I think there's now that all I want to say is that hope, where the visionaries are starting to see a way forward, where maybe for a long time it's felt like we've been stuck. I don't know about you guys, but even on a technological level, it doesn't seem like anything really has happened that much since, I don't know, iPhones and stuff, right? And that's been pretty stagnant. And then all of a sudden this new technology arrives and it's freeing up the creativity, freeing up the imagination. And I just really do think that entrepreneurs and creators are going to be creating a massive amount of value for themselves and everyone else. And I think that's a pretty exciting world.
I definitely agree. And we keep seeing every week where it grows more and more. And it's like we're all trying to find somewhere we can gather to talk about these things. So I appreciate everybody that came and thank you so much, everybody that's speaking. I just want to, for the new people who came in the room, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad that you came to hang out with us. I have a little weather trouble here, just in case we get cut off. I just want to warn everybody. But
Just a little tornado, no big deal, you know.
yeah, it's a little bit, but it hasn't started yet. But the power went out, so I'm on my phone. So, but it's still just I don't want to let everybody know. But thank you, and share this with anybody that's out there. If you know, people might not have any clue what we're talking about on a Friday after evening, but they might really enjoy this. I think it's a great opportunity for everybody. We have so many different people here together, and it's such a blend of different ideas. And every week I go away like just thrilled with what I've learned. So thank you so much. I'll pass the mics around some more as we go. But if you want to say something, if you want to speak, just raise your hand and I'll try to get to you. And we're gonna go around and I think I have weather reporter and sorcery have their hand out. And then I do want to make sure Orbify, is he still here? Orbify? To explain what the platform is, because that is a really cool thing. But we also have Dreambox here, Drayson and Carbon. If you get up and when we're still kind of going around on ControlNet, but I just wanted to make sure. Thank you guys so much for hanging in there. But Weather Report, I think you had your hand up longer, or you were waiting longer, and then Sorcery and Dave.
I mean, yeah, I was like letting everyone speak, and it was like fun to listen to everyone. But like it's been like 6 months still since Stable Diffusion went open source, and from that, like now that I'm reflecting on it, I feel that our iteration speeds of creating art have increased a lot. So that means like we have like with these many iteration speeds, we kind of are knowing faster what makes a very good image. And second, like right now, it's the 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 being of full stack artist is actually now possible. So that's like been crazy.
Yeah, it hasn't been much time at all. It seems like it's moving so fast, and it's hard to believe it's only been like 6 months, and even less than that for a lot of these generators. Before it was only a few, and now we just have so much stuff that's happening all together. Thank you so much for saying that. Sorcery, I can only see your first. Go ahead.
How's it going? Thanks for letting me on. I just wanted to say I'm one of Vicky's listeners, so I wouldn't have known about this until I was pinged about it. So, hello, Vicky. Hello, Heather. Hello, everyone here. I just saw you were doing a thing on ControlNet, and I had to come on and listen in. And I couldn't agree more with what Code was just saying. It is like the era for the abstract people to come along and draw inference on stuff, because I've been doing a lot of work with. I've been mostly training at 2.1 models, and I made hundreds of the things. But I've come back to 1.5 for the ControlNet, and recently I've been doing more LoRa, because you can do like a stack. You can have like multiple LoRa models all on top of each other, which is amazing. And I built a shitload of poses, OpenPose with OpenPose. A friend of mine made a bulk converter. I still think it's best to do it by hand, but human figures are very accurate with the conversion. So like, I think what I did was, way back in 1.4, a lot of people started using the adult models because they had better anatomy. The proportions of the bodies were rendering better. And I'm seeing the same sort of thing now. And so this goes back to what Code was saying about abstraction. A lot of people want to be safe for work. And that's cool. All the stuff I make is safe for work. But I was sat there thinking about how it uses silhouettes. So like depth model and open pose is kind of like a silhouette. And if you look at it in an abstract way, a woman on a pole dancing is many times the same position as Superman flying, Spider-Man hanging off a rooftop. It's the same skeletal position. So by converting a bunch of public domain ladies dancing on the poles, because they've got hundreds of moves, you're able to render it as Spider-Man on the side of a building or Batman on a roof, and you've got this really accurate pose. And like I said, I put like 200 of them out in the last couple of days, and people have been loving it. So I just wanted to sort of drop by and say that, really. Not like a promo, because you probably will never find them, but they're out there, and you could do it yourself. So it's really interesting, because like Code was saying, if you look at it in an abstract way, it's not really a woman on a pole. It's a skeleton, and that could be anything. And like I say, you get to benefit from that accuracy. And that's not even multi-control net. That's just literally using the open pose with a prompt and whatever custom model you like. So I just wanted to come by and just throw that out there for people.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, just to get in a different perspective. And Dave, you can go ahead, and I see Orbify is back here, so I'm gonna give him the mic again. But go ahead, please.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna hop off some family stuff here in a second, but I just want to kind of end it and summarize with, I think one of the coolest things about the AI kind of Web3 corner of the internet right now is that everyone is so incredibly generous with what they're learning, what they're finding works, what things are helpful. And I think like just the mid journey is an example of like, would you use for that prompt, or can you copy paste it and let me try? And I think like that's a really cool spirit that I think like a year or two ago got like NFTs and Web3s. It's a really intimidating part of the space, is to try to understand AI and understand how to get these tools, how to use it. And I feel like that's probably the most exciting part of all this, is everyone is so open to share what they're working on and kind of like these new ideas. And I think that's really where some of the coolest, inception points or inflection points can come from, is someone else's prompt shared with your tool, shared with your, way to point the model at something. Like that's just what's really exciting. I think the most is that everyone seems very, very open to doing that. And so I think that's what I'm looking forward to more, is like these spaces, random Friday Twitter space. We have a bunch of people who are spent 15 or 20 hours probably this week playing with tools or finding something that works. And I think the bouncing ideas and stuff off that. So I just want to say before I bounce out that, thankful for Matt and everyone else for their content, and you guys for hosting. And I think that's exciting to keep that going up, is just to share openly as much as you can, and, let things go by.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's so much fun every week, and it's just so much fun. I appreciate that a lot. And you're right. It's just the sharing of ideas. I've never seen anything like it. It's not that much competition, really. It's just kind of like, what do you have? Even in my comments of one of my posts, I have a whole gallery full of superheroes. And some of them are in the audience here that have been contributing, and I appreciate it. But it's like, we have gold going down there. We just have so much, and they're exchanging like, well, try this prompt and see if you can get the Punisher to come out with this one. And it's so cool to see all that collaboration together, and you would never see that for anything else. So thank you.
Yeah, I think it's
really
always like new tools come out so fast, and of course there's incentivized for markets and for money and stuff like that. But we all have to realize that it's not AI tools versus each other. It's all of us versus the world. You know what I mean? Like it's a billion to one trying to help an industry forward, because there's like a lot of people who probably don't want AI tools to, jump to the forefront of things, because it might be, I don't know, fearful to their companies, to their jobs. Like copywriters out there weren't too happy when ChatGPT came out, but they're tools you can use to be a better copywriter. So yeah, it's definitely not tools versus each other and people versus each other. It's all of us versus kind of like just moving the industry forward. So yeah, hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And then the more we work together, the faster the things are being developed. And I think that's probably what spurred it on more than anybody would have anticipated before. But Benji, I wanted to see if you please explain to the whole group again. I know you were here several weeks ago and we didn't have such a large audience, but so they can understand what Orbify is.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you so much, Heather. And hey, everybody, I hope you're all doing fantastic. Actually, a core of what Orbify is, I would say is also in relation with what Dave was talking about. Is that a proper intersection between AI infrastructure with Web3? And when we talk about Web3, is mostly about blockchain-based systems, and how we can keep these systems decentralized, distributed, that actually enable ownership of the assets, right? And that marriage of AI-generated content and blockchain is like literally a marriage made in Valhalla. Even if I want to put the analogy like that. But in a nutshell, what Orbify is. Orbify in a nutshell is the AI generated content layer for Web3 and for games. But in a nutshell, we want to empower people to create their own assets, AI assets, and tokenize them on chain, own their prompts, own their assets, and perhaps even if they want to monetize those. And the other primary thing is that we empower people to create their own. That's what we call factories, AI factories, which AKA are AI models. Where basically we give them like a lot of data. It's about like 15 million images already on our site. And you can go check it out. Like everything is open, everything with their own prompts. From Midjourney, Stable Diffusion. So we aggregate a lot of these models. But sometimes we want to enable people to create their own models themselves, whether for literally any kind of assets we're talking about. But the main idea and the main vision where we want to take this is that as of now, imagine if you take, I don't know, Amazon and all of factories worldwide, and you combine those into one platform, but for the digital realm and everything AI powered and focusing on AI generated content. But really, like the core of our ethos is that we want to boost human creativity and human globalization. And there is AI generated content has a lot of power that can enable this in terms of human collaboration, human creativity, and just like upside in this. So, and one of the big problems we're trying to solve, and we've been solving step by step, is that so. For some context, like AI generated content is literally one of the fastest growing content creation vertical for the past, I think, within the past 2 years. Um, and yet there is no way for people to monetize it. So there's still here a balance where we want to keep everything open prompts, but at the same time there are a lot of people out there who would wish to monetize their models, would wish to monetize their assets. And pretty much we provide these tools so that they can all in the same platform. They can create, tokenize on chain, and sell. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people would say, "Oh, what? Why do we want to bring blockchain in this equation?" Like I personally, even way before I founded Orbify, I've been literally one of the first teams that work in the NFT space back in early 2017, and back then, it was as of the way we perceive it internally as virtual goods that you can own, transfer, sell, or just whatever you would want to do with it. But it actually secures your assets on chain, immutable, decentralized, and interoperable network. And that's why I mentioned in the beginning is that this combination of AI assets and blockchain-based systems, this combination is just beautiful, right? So we believe in that, but in a nutshell, I want to keep it short. Right now, we are empowering people to be proper virtual good creators and AI factory creators. Down the line, within the next 2 to 3 years, even way before, because the text to 3D is moving really fast. But that's what we call orbs, and that's where the name comes in. Is that we want people to create their own orbs, which means 3D environments in a few seconds. Where every communities, brands, individuals can create their own 3D spaces, where they can create their own economies. All not just all AI powered but the environment itself is AI generated, but powered by humans. Incentivized and governed by humans, but everything that is content related perhaps can be created with AI. And just as a reminder, AI here is just an assistant for us. Yeah, in a nutshell, this is where we're going. It's really exciting. We'll be launching actually the factories really soon. And then yeah, a lot of cool stuff. I'm really happy to be showcasing this, and perhaps down the line, once I think on Wednesday we shall be launching the first version of the factories, and we'd love you guys to come in and create your own models. There's a bunch of data out there on our site that you can check it out. Anything, and we would want to encourage people just like unleash their creativity, like go crazy, right? And that's what it's all about, right? And if you guys have any questions, whether what we think and how we are actually intersecting blockchain-based systems with AI content, let me know. Yeah, all questions are welcomed. And thank you, Heather, again for organizing all that.
Oh no, thank you, because it's a hard concept for me to explain to people. But when I think I DM'd you when I first went on your site, and I was like, oh my goodness, this thing, it just had me sucked in for the rest of the day. And the whole concept was so cool to see. And there's so much going on. And I've been on there, and you can there's you can generate your images. There's all different models and things like that on there, fine-tuned models. It's really interesting. But with the bringing in the Web3 part is helpful because I don't really know much about it, so I'm learning as I go.
Absolutely. And like I'll tell you, like the perception of NFTs out there has been negatively impacted, I would say, in the past year. Like monkey JPEGs and stuff, and that's what the general public knows about NFTs. But they don't actually, and that's actually very true, right? And I've been there way before, like any of that, and it feels actually a little bit sad to see that and how it turned out. But the promise of NFTs and non-fungible tokens is that you own your assets, and there is, for even for gamers and for content, is that there is no better way to actually state that, is that you own it, you can do literally whatever you want with it. It just provides a lot of different we will call it that, like superpowers to creators. So we'll try to step by step. We do believe that the overall NFT space and like the mass, like the public, is that will perceive it positively, but step by step, right? But as long as we forget the name NFTs and we focus on virtual goods, because this is what it's all about. And then we wish it's gonna happen soon, but we're doing our best to make that happen. Yeah.
No, it's such a cool platform. Anybody have any questions for him while he's talking?
I actually, not like questions, but I just think this is, such a cool. Every person that speaks, I also see all these connections coming together between these different platforms and stuff like that. So, just so exciting. And I was on your Twitter while you were talking. I'm excited to go check this out too.
Yeah. Thank you, dear friend. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's really cool. Heather,
Thank
do you mind if I do a little?
Yeah. No, go ahead, cool. Carbon. Please, you and Drayson are here. Thank you.
Of course, yeah, I love these. Our team looks forward to these every Friday now. It's so cool. Well, what you're just saying about Orify, like, holy smokes! I think that's the Web3 space is in need of that stuff, and I like what you said. It's like, the outer perception of the monkey NFTs and stuff like that kind of does cloud the incredible utility and the ability for ownership here. And I've definitely from the start kind of seen this ability to, like, or the potential, someone could create some kind of crazy weapon in Leonardo, and then mint it with you guys. And then we on Dreambox, we can help turn it into a 3D model or a physical print, and then you can actually you could leverage that across different metaverses, different games. You could go out and sell that weapon to other communities and use it in different games across the board. So there's so much exciting opportunity that, and kind of flipping between real world, digital world, and the metaverse. All of the stuff is just so exciting. But yeah, sorry, I'm just nerding out and didn't can now back up a little bit. But yeah, Dreambox, we've created a platform that will actually help people take their images, all of these different amazing creative products that people are envisioning through things like Stable Diffusion and Midjourney. Take them and instead of just looking at them and sharing them with your friends and family or posting them on social media, actually be able to turn those into physical real world products. So kind of like a little bit what you guys are doing for the metaverse, but actually in a way actually translate those into real life things you can hold in your hand. And so yeah, from the get go, the vision, I think everyone on this panel has just hit home how kind of amazing. Like, this is democratizing creativity across the board. And I think so many industries that have, like, we talk about gatekeepers, oh, you have to ask permission to go create that video game. Oh, you want to make that film? You got to go get permission from someone in Hollywood. And same thing for product design and toy design and plushie design and shoe design. You have to know the right people to get your shoes made. But that's kind of what we want to disrupt as well. It's like, hey, if you can now become your, like, the best rival, the best shoe designer at Nike now, why shouldn't you be able to make that shoe and wear it and see it and exhibit it in your house? So yeah, we're building. We actually have our first MVP that we actually pulled together this week, which was we're gonna wait a little bit to show it off, but it's so freaking cool. Had the team on a call, and we're kind of watching this amazing process of visualizing something and then getting it directly into our store, which is really, really cool. So a lot of really exciting stuff coming soon. And yeah, our beta list is growing, but if you guys are interested, head over to dreambox.ai and go sign up, go check it out. And our Discord is popping off. So if anyone wants to get in there and get your feet wet in our creative channels, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's been super awesome so far. And Oberfi, I really love what you're doing, connecting AI to
Cool.
the blockchain. Because
I think that's it for
yeah,
me. If just tried to make it short and sweet. But happy to answer any questions. And
you hear me?
Also, like, I think there's so many creative people and opportunity for cross collaboration from some of these platforms as well.
He might have lost it. Can you hear us, Carbon?
Yeah, I can hear.
Carbon.
I can hear you guys.
Oh, okay. Oh, sometimes that happens to me when I can only hear like one person. So
Oh,
I didn't know
no.
if he got cut.
Did
I
get some dead space or silence?
Drayson was going to speak, and I don't think you heard him.
Oh no!
Yeah, I don't think he hears me. Yeah,
I didn't hear anything. I was like, got silent for a while. Drayson, yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Sure, for sure. Well, you can't hear me, but Oberfi, I really love what you're doing with the AI and blockchain, because me and I actually have very strong backgrounds in the blockchain. Ivan obviously has his art company,
Drayson,
which is Smart Jewelry. Yeah, I'm here. I don't think he hears me.
Nice shuffling of Twitter Spaces starting to melt down.
But, yeah, that's Twitter Space for you. But anyways, yeah, me and Ivan
have to continue the round robin.
Oh man, this is awkward.
Oh, I think I'm talking over people at this point, so
I'm trying to DM him now.
Okay.
No,
was I cut off for a while? It's so frustrating.
I'm trying to get him on the DM.
No, Carbon, we hear you talking and doing your thing, but I don't think you're hearing Drayson, because he just started explaining something. But you.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up and completely mute myself.
No, it was hilarious though.
You're going.
You're good.
You're business partners. So.
I know. Well, hopefully we were.
Definitely hit the replay on this one, because that was funny.
That's so weird. Yeah, I couldn't hear. I could hear you guys, but I didn't hear him. That's hilarious. All right, well, I'm gonna mute myself and see what happens after that.
Yeah, it might go blank for 2 minutes or something. But where was I? Yeah, so me and Ivan have really strong foundations in blockchain. I was the marketing director for the Blockchain Education Network. Ivan runs his company, Smart Jewelry Arc, and we're not doing this currently with the Dreambox, but as we go forward, we definitely want to integrate the Web3 technology. Make these physical items actually NFT enabled, so you can verify its authenticity on the blockchain. This is definitely more further along the road, but I just feel it kind of like builds the moat for our company and for any companies that integrate AI and Web3. So it's a really fun time to be like exploring all these things together. They say that the crypto people moved on to AI and like it's like a bandwagon or something, but for me, I really see it as like it's technology lovers, loving the next technology and using it. So
exactly.
I just love integrating as much as I can.
Exactly. And you see, it's like a lot of people like, it's like a meme. There's like saying, oh, like all the crypto people like moving to AI. But like actually, like if you combine both, it's just like an amazing combination. Personally, like I've been in crypto for many years, and it's not something that will never leave the space. And just like the ethos, just like in my personal core. And when you think about all AI generated content, especially when you think about just like Stable Diffusion, as being as like a just amazing open source protocol, that is literally serving and boosting creativity for a lot of humans in the world. It's literally just a matter of time where we see, at least 2 to 3 billion people utilizing AI generated content tools daily. And there needs to be a proper, economy infrastructure as well, and a proper Web3, and not called Web3, but a proper blockchain based systems that actually underline a lot of these assets, and that power ownership and power transferability. And if they want to sell, they can sell. People can build their own little spaces, their own little marketplaces. But that's the promise of it. But I won't be surprised in the next 3 years we'll be seeing billions of people, 2 or 3 billion, utilizing it daily. So we are still, I would say, all of us still very, very early. But I guess one of the problems right now is that we won't be recognizing what has been AI created and what just like has been human created. So this is another challenge and a discussion for next time. But overall, the journey is amazing.
Very cool.
Go ahead, Jason.
No, that was it. I was saying, no, that's very cool. Someone else can speak for sure.
Thank you guys so much. And I was thinking when we were talking about that, like we have so many different things to talk about and trying to figure out schedules of topics. I was thinking that hopefully maybe next week we could try to do game assets or something like that. If that would be if everybody was interested in that. It seems like we have a lot, and it's not just for game, because I make things on Leonardo and I just do different things that could be considered game assets or use the same models. So I think it's pretty cool just to see how we can create images and create things like that, and even end up hopefully making something into a real product at Dreambox or something like that. But I think it's really cool. And I would like to do something like that if everybody was down with that. But Digital, did you have your hand up? Go ahead.
Just
And
yeah,
then
like on the same
Xarvel, I'm
note.
sorry, after that.
Oh,
Sorry. Go ahead. As
sorry.
soon as you're finished. Yeah, Xarvel, I apologize.
No, well, hello. Hi. Hi to everyone. By the way, I'm from India, and my only question, it's not a question, by the way, but like I have a vast audience waiting behind me. A lot of them, like you can say, like 20% of them are already introduced to bitcoins and stuff like cryptocurrencies. I'm a stock, and then the Web3 right now. Like I have been in special. I'm talking about metaverse here. I have been working with Spatial like since it started, and right now I have already made too many metaverses for like good brands. But right now, my whole goal is to get my people, like the Indians, to get into metaverse. And the only thing I can recognize right now that everybody's interested in entertainment and not the like monetizing part of it. So I would want all of you, even like the host, please, hi, uh create a event where like we will talk about getting Indian people to metaverse, because we have like 1.3 billion people already, right? And like I want to all of us want to monetize, and I think that it's monetized out there. But right now, like the little thing I did, like I work for free for all of the brands. Like for example, UFO, I work for movies as well, Bollywood movies. But they didn't pay me because it wasn't monetizable then. I want to monetize the metaverse, the 3D creators, the artists, as well as I want to bring more people to metaverse. So right now, the uh, what do you call it? Cryptocurrency, the trading and stuff was like it was already acknowledged by like 30% of the Indians. But I want all of you guys to help me to bring India to metaverse. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. That is a good point because we want to. But I'm into inclusivity and accessibility, and I think that the ways that you can talk about it differently and explain how it's relevant and how it would impact them or benefit them in their daily lives or in future pursuits. That would be something that's interesting to talk about with the people of India and all over, even here. That I mean, I had no idea what crypto was, and I saw the apes and stuff like that myself. So I think that would be interesting to be able to have some kind of a to start teaching people a little bit more about these things. But Fidgetal, go ahead. You can, and thank you so much, Smart. So I appreciate you coming up to speak. And Fidgetal, go ahead, please.
Absolutely. And yeah, one thing I wanted to say, and also I really loved the sentiment and the topic in itself when we talk about accessibility and onboarding people. It's really it is really important to not only think about, well, our space is in English, obviously, and we all hear, like, obviously it's not our first language for a lot of us, but it's really important that there's so many people. We just talked about having like two or more three 2 or 3 more billion people in the next 10 or 15 years in the metaverse, but where are those people going to come from? It's a big question. It does depend on us as a collective, on who we are going to onboard and how diverse this community will be. So I really do appreciate the sentiment and the sort of the topic that was just brought up. But one thing I want to mention that was talked about before, bringing us back to ControlNet and about sort of actionable items. I do love action items, and we at Fidgetal also love creators who are actually, are about doing things and creating. So Linus, please do correct me and let me know how to say your name. When he talked about kids making those drawings, and then folks from Dreambox talked about Carbon and Drayson, they talked about creating physical items out of things, out of generative AI creations, then to me, what it seems so obvious that the pipeline could be, okay, so Linus gets his kids to draw, to scribble, to draw on an iPad or draw something and just take a picture, scan it. Then you go to Fidgetal. You sort of all you need to do is plug the image into ControlNet. You just scribble as a type. You create a gorgeous artwork, and then you send it over to Dreambox, and they make either a toy or like a huge painting and print it and whatnot. So it's basically like we have just created such a simple and wonderful and fun pipeline for a literal project that anybody can create, and it's so simple. All you need to do is you need to have a kid, or you need to find somebody's niece or nephew or friend, then take that image, plug it into ControlNet, which is extremely simple with Phygital or with any other tool that you might find either in our library or anywhere else, and then send it to Dreambox. And it's just so amazing, this power of collaboration and people sharing. Like, we didn't know anything about Dreambox before, so it's really fun to see how literally out of one Twitter space, a full project can come out, and it could be like an entire business in itself. It seems like a really fun idea. So just really wanted to mention that because it seems, so sort of fitting to the space that we're in, which is about creativity and about building stuff and making it. So that is just, my comment on it.
Hey, we we should talk. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Right? Like, that would be so fun.
No, all of this stuff. I mean, that's why it's crazy. Just like as soon as it's like some kind of, I don't know, electricity. Just like as soon as you tap your finger to it, all this, like, I don't know, everything, creativity, entrepreneurship, new business ideas. Like, I mean, all of this stuff is just like artistic freedom, just like courses through you. That's why it is, I mean, addicting, number one. I mean, I think we've all had that experience. And number two, you just like, once you start connecting the pieces, it's like the 1+1 = 3. You kind of just start getting more value than what you put in initially, which is really amazing. And just like, I don't know, it doesn't happen very often. This is just such an exciting space right now and just getting started.
And it's
Heather,
funny too.
I wasn't lying when I said that we're gonna we need to do some sort of a building in public pitch your collab
No,
space where we just
seriously.
No,
hash it out live.
it was
I
funny
love that.
because I didn't know who Drayson and Carbon were, and or a lot of people because of like the first space where a lot of people started to come and coming up to the mic and listening to different people, we wouldn't have known to look out for Dreambox. And if I hadn't, I forget how I saw. I think Orbify Benji, you put something, you commented on something, and I just kind of just went to see like who's this. I like the avatar. And I'm like, who is this profile picture? And I'm like, oh man, I mean, I want to get to know more about this company. So just having a place where people can talk and explain what they're working on is amazing. And we wouldn't have known about each other. And then all these ideas were being formed. Like Robert Scoble said a few weeks ago, like the people in this room were the ones that are going to be like a lot of companies may not be around in several years. What happened to Nokia and things like that. Remember he was saying these like the people that are in this space, they're the ones that are going to be, making things, and the economy is going to change and the world changes from what we're doing here. But I'm gonna give Fidgetal the mic back, and I don't want to keep rambling, but I think she has the mic. Yeah, because it's so helpful to hear from everybody. Go ahead. Did you want to say something, Fidgetal?
No, I think I was just rugged again, or like my sound got lost, so just need to rejoin. But yeah, no, nothing to say.
Okay. Well, no, I appreciate it. And I mean, I'm trying to remember, did I skip anybody? And if, please remind me if I did. I guess my power stayed on all this time, and I appreciate everybody hanging. So we could, if you want to open it up, if anybody on the panel, anybody that has the mics now, is there anything you want to talk about? Or Billawall, I guess did we ever finish, I guess, ControlNet? Wait, I'm sorry. The mompreneur, you asked for the mic, right? And what did you want to say? I apologize. I forgot.
Oh, hello everyone. So great to be a listener. This is my first time talking in big spaces, but from the passion and the love I have for the subject and what everyone was sharing, I was like, you have it, you gotta do it. So I have been using AI for over a year now. I am building a Web3, I'd say, community for women to learn about Web3, NFT, and the whole ecosystem, and especially for women in Tunisia, which is my original country. It's in North Africa, but I live now in US. So AI helped me to be confident. And for example, if I'm sharing something with the mompreneur page, I don't care because people know me, know that English is my third language. And I build that relationship and confidence along the time that people know the knowledge and they don't judge me on the accent or anything anymore. However, when it comes to my brand, if I'm posting any kind of content, I cannot even pursue it, look at it the same way, because I am exposed, like I'm targeting a larger audience, and I'm trying to look and sound professional. So I'm not just like playing, because I have a vision for it for the long term. So I always wanted to write blogs about the topics I love, but before that, I used to takes me a lot more time, and it takes me sending the copy to my friends, like English native speakers, so they can help me with it and everything. And then I found Jasper last year, and it did not change anything in my content, but just helped me in making it not look professional, but readable for the people to not say, what is this? And from that, I dove deeper in when Midjourney and all the like art um, AI came out, and we did something really cool. I don't know if some are familiar with it, Coin Queens, which is like a group for women. We're just experimenting things in the blockchain in Web3. And each one of us, what we did was we used AI to recreate our PFPs. So, and each one is representing like a female community in the Web3. word, and we recreated it as a Bitcoin queen, and we um, made them as originals. So we inscribed them in Bitcoin. So they are the first originals by women using AI. And we don't have any monetary like goal for this, but to like plant our flag using all these like technology crossing each other, the AI, the blockchain, the communities and everything. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. And some other cool ways I'm also using AI is even in my day-to-day life. I ask for it to give me the meal plans for the week, based on what we like, what we don't, our ages, and everything at home. And then once it gives me that, I ask for, okay, give me the grocery list to make this. And that was like one of also like most helpful things, where I don't have to consume my mind on thinking what to cook for the whole week for all of us, and to put the like a grocery list. So that's a mom using AI.
That's a great and that's something, because you can integrate it, and it's so helpful because it helps you. You can't run a business or even pursue a business without having those things taken care of, and it helps so much to plan. It's like, why not use that? You can come up with all kinds of different ways to use it. Thank you so much for explaining too, like how the difference. I think the translation is a great thing that a lot of people don't think about, as far as for people who don't speak English as a first language, for chat gpt and all of these types of things, for your titles, for the copy, for the ideas, even the phrases of speech and things like that, since it's already biased to English language. So I answer people back a lot of times. If I see that they're writing the tweet in a different language, I would answer them back, and I would run it through chat gpt instead of Google Translate, just to like show them, and then tell them, hey, that was from that. I was able to, or Jasper Chat, just so they can see and ask, is that correct? And those little things get lost, but there's so many little uses that people, it can really benefit you throughout your day and your business, and we take it for granted. So thank you for sharing that, and good job. You sounded great, and thank you. I like your the PFPs look great. That's a good idea.
I just wanted to kind of riff off that. I mean, I think like one thing I always talk about, and I think that I don't know I don't want to say as a monolith, but like some of the haters, people who kind of want to really try to their best to kind of like, I don't know, portray AI technology in a bad light, which is just, I mean, doesn't make a lot of sense, because there's so many applications, and one I think is just so important is accessibility. Whether it's someone with a disability, someone who, that we talked on a previous space about, someone who was an artist and maybe kind of didn't, maybe you like don't have a hand, like you're missing your dominant hand or something like that, or you have some other disability, or even vision, and language. I mean, all this is enabling us to kind of fill in the blanks, creatively, and find, especially with like translation, like I think that's just so amazing, like to be able to more seamlessly communicate with people, and not just do it in like a Google Translate. I mean, Google Translate, number one, uses a lot of AI, and number two, like I think it's going to get even more streamlined, more faster, and even like pick up all the nuances of if you're changing dialects, or if you're trying to be funny or humor, all of that stuff, that can't come through really with like something like Google Translate. So I think this is just so exciting. Reminds me of a little nerdy, but in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I think it's called the Babel fish, but it's like a little fish you can just put in your ear, and then it lets you speak any language at all, like in between different aliens and everything like that. So I can kind of see us getting there. You can really just talk to someone, and they can hear the translation in real time, translated by AI. I don't know. It's exciting stuff.
That is cute. That is a cute idea.
Yeah.
Well, Finn, thank you for coming by. Finn, did you want to say
Uh,
something?
yes, hi. Afternoon, everybody. So I'm just a end user AI enthusiast. but there's just so much to take away from these spaces. This weekend, I will definitely sit down and try ControlNet. And I also want to get my 16-year-old and sit him down and get into the in-game assets with Orbify. But my question to the panel is, Riley had put out a video yesterday talking about AI assistants and where they're going to be in a year from now. So I would like, if we could get the panel to expand on that, where we're going to have an AI assistant where we can create the avatar with Leonardo and animate it, and then pick the voice with 11 labs, and then that AI assistance based on our traits. It's our language. It studies everything that we do, and really personalized. I mean, as scary as that sounds, how far away is that? Thank you.
Is he here? Benji? Oh, Orbify. Where did he go? Is anybody else in the panel able to answer that?
I mean, I think, this is, I don't have deep experience on this necessarily, but I think from extrapolation and what you can see already, I mean, there's some tools I've already used where I think the next generation of tools will be like combining layers and node-based kind of AI structures, where you really can, like, I don't know, connect a node of your voice, and then I don't know, maybe if you're if you have a blog, you could plug your blog into this node, and all of a sudden it's the AI is an authority on all of the stuff that you've written, or all the books that you've written if you're an author, or have given lectures if you're a professor. And all of a sudden, it's not that challenging to start. We do like to have a high opinion of ourselves, but especially on a surface level, you could start synthesizing that. I think that's a really, really interesting and cool idea. Obviously, there's a lot of ethical questions there, and like stuff that has to be thought over and digested. But I don't think it's that far out. Like the last 6 months have proved that it's possible. This stuff is possible. Now people are going to start putting those puzzle pieces together. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting and strange and interesting.
Yeah, I think I think all of those technologies that you just mentioned, all of the technologies already exist. They're just all sort of individual.
Exactly.
There
Yeah.
hasn't really been any just went and mashed them all together yet, right? Like,
Yeah.
remember who asked the first question? I think it was Finn, maybe. But you listed all of the names of the tools that already exist. So like 11 Labs gives you those realistic sounding voices where you can sound like a real human and it's barely distinguishable. Chat GPT already has the ability to answer questions, and then with embeddings on top of that, you can sort of fine-tune train Chat GPT with additional information that you want to answer with, right? Like there's a tool out there called Personal AI that I've messed around with, where you can train your own sort of information into it. You load your blog posts and transcripts from your podcasts in there, and you can like write your daily journal into it, and then over time it learns you, and then you can ask it questions about you, and then you can give people the ability to ask the digital version of you questions, right? So you've got the Chat GPT, you've got embeddings where you can train it, you've got 11 Labs where you can get the audio, you've got tools like DID where you can upload a picture of your face and the mouth will move and it will blink and look fairly realistic. All of the components are there. I think it's only a matter of time before a company goes and mashes them all together and says, here, make your own personal assistant that looks and sounds like you, or looks and sounds like whoever you want it to look like. If you want it to look like the chick from Weird Science, do you, right? So I think that's very, very close, quite honestly, probably closer than most people realize. There was a service called Replicate that's been, is it Replica? They were in the news recently because the AI started sort of sexually harassing the the users of the tool. So there are some of those kinds of kinks that need to be worked out, no pun intended. But yeah, I mean, it's really, really close, honestly.
Matt, that's awesome. I mean, this is just a trending pattern I've seen emerge from these spaces, but every one of these spaces, there's new Y Combinator worthy startup ideas that are just being thrown around willy nilly. So, any hungry people in here, there's so much opportunity for even gluing a couple of these things together.
I actually have I met with some people today that are building something really cool. I can't mention who they are, but I can talk about what they're doing, and it might be interesting to content creators and people that are running podcasts. Essentially, what they're doing is they're taking corpus of known podcasts that have run for a very long time. Let's say there are 100 episodes, 200 episodes, and they are embedding that. So essentially, like putting it into a vector-based database, and then they're putting a chat interface on top, giving you like a way to prompt against that data, and then they're running it through a AI synthesizer, voice synthesizer like 11 Labs, and you get custom podcasts back from the creator based on topics they've already covered in previous like 100, 200, 300 episodes. So you get on demand personalized podcast back from your favorite creator. That's pretty interesting things that can be done with that. It's a tool that I think a lot of people would actually want to use.
That's wild. That's really cool. I could see. I mean, you could just extrapolate, even if you had a podcast once a week or once a month. I mean, you could, if you could start to synthesize it, or you could be like, oh yeah, now new podcast dropping twice a week, and like some of them are AI or AI augmented, but still use synthesizing the kind of that AI brain from the actual content.
Yeah, even looking at it from the perspective of, let's just use you, Matt, as an object here. But Matt produces a lot of videos for YouTube, right? So it would be fairly easy to, even if there's no transcripts available, to run all Matt's videos through Whisper. We get transcripts of all the content, and then once that's embedded, we could ask any questions basically around anything that Matt's ever talked about, and then we can get Matt talking back about that subject on demand. That's pretty cool. It's not just for podcasts. It could be any kind of content creation. So that's really, I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I've seen that a little bit with some podcasts already. I know I don't know if people are familiar with Andrew Huberman and his Huberman Labs podcast, but there's actually like a Huberman bot out there where you can go and ask Andrew Huberman any question you can imagine about, he mostly focus on like health related topics. But you can go and ask him any question you can imagine, and it will answer as him because he's got such a large database of information from all of his podcasts and YouTube channels and his interviews on Joe Rogan's show and all of that kind of stuff. It's all out there. And so it can fairly accurately answer how he would respond to questions because of how much data is already out there that he's produced. And that exists right now. It just nobody's put nobody's attached his voice to it, which I'm sure somebody could very easily go and train Andrew Huberman's voice into 11 Labs, connect it through an API, and have it respond as him as well. It's you could do that today if you wanted to.
Yeah, minutes, like literally minutes. Like using the API from 11 Labs, it would be like, I don't know, even a challenge, like 25 minutes of work, and we could have something working.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you could connect 11 Labs API with something like make.com and, make the two APIs talk to each other and you're there.
Yeah. I think what's going to be hard to get is, again, like I think we're.
Sorry, that was me accidentally. Can you hear now?
Yeah. Did I get cut off?
I muted everybody accidentally. That's me messing with my phone. I'm so sorry. Go ahead. Please finish.
I'm going to, recap. So I'm just saying that we're touching on this every week, that the rate of change itself is accelerating, and we're seeing more and more things. And again, this is so few people working in the space, and the rate of change is so high. You can imagine what's going to happen in the next 3 to 6 months. It's going to be really hard to keep up. And again, these tools are so easy to work with. They're so easy to work with. So yeah, it's super exciting times. It's like the internet is reborn.
I know, it's wild. What a time to be alive, honestly. But somebody had their hand up, Saint Mar. Let me see. Yeah, somebody who I just gave the mic to. Did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I have a question. No, it's a comment. It's fascinating you're talking about synthesizing an entire line of podcasts or content. And I think it would be cool to help people if you could do that and then you had a trained set that knows how to interview well. And it's like you could get the AI to pre-interview you. So it's like it already knows all your stuff. And so it's almost like it would be like a way to almost help you synthesize your own work. And maybe you'll learn things about yourself that you didn't know before. If you had, like a personal AI that would interview you about yourself. And then anytime that you would end up on an interview, you'd be set because they couldn't really throw anything out to you. Anyway, that's just a weird thought I had.
Yeah, it's a great thought. I think I spoke about this 2 weeks ago that I've trained. I have my own journal. I journal, so I journal twice a day, morning and evening, and I've done so for a few years. And I've embedded my own journal, and I'm able to speak back to myself in a weird way. I can I can ask myself questions, but I can also ask myself questions as like a third person. Like I can ask it to do sentiment analysis as a psychologist, for example. So I can ask like as a psychologist, how would you what are the key takeaways from the last 30 days? What should I focus on? Or I can ask as a partner, what are the things that I should do to better highlight my relationship with my partner? So there's some weird things that you can do once you go down this train, and not just like in the case of interviews and like a podcast, but like really train and embed on personal data. It's just going to open like a very new weird realm where when done right, and emphasis on that, when done right, it's going to be mind blowing for a lot of people. It's going to help a lot of people. It's going to be like we're going to see fascinating new ways of kind of do anything from psychology to kind of mental health awareness and help. It's just going to be insane. Yeah.
Well, as an artist, I actually take lots of notes and sketch down a lot of ideas. So is there a product now that I can import? I've heard that people do that with GPT-3. They'll take all their journals and import it into GPT-3 and ask it to summarize it. Is there like another product that is specialized, kind of like what you were saying, where I could take all my notes and input it into it and let it synthesize it?
So what I'm talking about is also a product from OpenAI, so the same company that's making ChatGPT. It's actually like an endpoint in their API called embeddings. So it actually translates text-based data to a vector space. So it takes text and turns it into numbers, and then it acts as like a short-term or near-term memory for the model. So you can almost consider it as like giving the model RAM memory without having to fine tune the actual model. So the underlying model will be the same. So you would have GPT-3 or ChatGPT in the base, and then you'd have a layer on top that's essentially your index data, and then you can query that index data in a combination of using the underlying model to serve its reasoning and sense, and then looking at the data that you have in your embedded data set. So anything really that you can like translate into vector space. It's all in the documentation on OpenAI's website, and there are companies now doing like tools to make this a lot easier. I think Godly.ai is one of them, and yeah, there's plenty of these. Like probably Matt has a good idea of what's out there in this realm.
Yeah, I was actually.
That's very cool because that is the process we use in AI art when we use Dream Booth or textual inversion. That those are embedding. So I guess it works the same way.
Right. Yeah. And there are actually tools out there that people have already sort of created this thing for. There's one called Personal AI that I just mentioned that I've played around with a little bit, where you can actually load in your blog posts, or you can just sort of talk to it. You can journal directly inside of it, and then it kind of learns you. There's another one that I came across the other day. I think it might be called Journal.ai. I can't remember the exact name off the top of my head, but it actually does what you kind of mentioned when you first jumped on here. Is every day it'll ask you questions. It'll say like, what are you grateful for today? How are you feeling today? And it'll kind of go through a line of questions every day and give you sort of journal prompts to respond to. And then it saves all of that and embeds it in so that you can actually go and chat with your journal later, essentially. So there are a handful of tools out there like that. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the second one off the top of my head, but personal.ai is one that I've messed around with a little bit myself.
Yeah, I just put that into the comments there. Thank you. I wasn't even aware of that one, Matt. Thank you. Thank you for bringing up. That's a good question, though.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming. And I was gonna, I guess since it's 6 o'clock, I guess we could kind of just, I wanted to tie it up, wrap up the ControlNet. And what do you think people should be interested in, and anything that people can actually use now, easy, if they don't have Stable Diffusion on their desktop, like a Scribbled and things like that. Are there any other in Phygital, but if they have to be on the platform, right? Is what else can people do? What other type of models and tools are out there that people could use?
So I could jump in here too. So I know Leonardo, they've built ControlNet directly into it. I'm not sure if the waitlist is open. You can join the waitlist right now. I don't know 100% if they're letting new people in yet. I know they've kind of had a huge influx, and now they're kind of throttling it back a little bit. I don't see Esteban on the call anymore, but he would have a better idea on that. But Leonardo does have ControlNet built into it, where anybody can generate up to 250 images a day right now with it. Another one that I use quite a bit is called Run Diffusion, which is basically just a cloud version of Stable Diffusion. They do charge 50 cents an hour. So, if you want to get in there and play with it for 2 hours, it's going to cost you $1. But they have ControlNet built directly into that one as well. So those are a couple options for people that are on, computers where they can't install Stable Diffusion. I've heard of people even using those like on their iPad and stuff like that, so that you can actually run Stable Diffusion directly from pretty much anywhere, because it's all of the compute power is happening in the cloud.
Oh, that's helpful. Thank you.
And for
Go ahead, Phygital.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you did say correctly that to use Phygital, you do need to be on the platform. But especially for this week's challenge, that is, I think it's one of the first pinned tweets that you'll be able to see, and hashtag Phygital challenge is anybody who will sign up through the link that is in the tweet, you'll be able to get access to Phygital. Probably not right away because it's the weekend right now, but hopefully within 24 hours, we'll make sure that everybody who joins via that link, which is, I think it's library.phygital.plus/challenge, but you don't have to type it in. You can just go to the pinned tweet. We are giving people access to the tool where they're able to explore all the tools that we have for free and able to work with ControlNet, test all the different features. And the challenge that we have is that you take any logo, it can be your logo, Phygital Plus logo, a logo of your friend's business and whatnot. So you take the logo and you run it through ControlNet and you make it fun, cute, interesting. You just post it, just share it with friends, and sort of it's just a fun way for you to create something with ControlNet, because it's something that we all talk about, but not a lot of people have actually tried it. And it's a very easy, fun, and free way to do it. Yeah, basically, like I said, do check out the pinned tweet. We'll be doing our best to give access to people as soon as possible. But like I said, 24 hours is probably going to be the time you'll have to wait. And also for people who will be posting, there will be a chance to get a premium account access where you'll also be able to train your own model. So something that people were talking about here, where let's say you can train a model on your face or on an object or a style or a brand, and then you'll be able to replicate that with Stable Diffusion on Phygital as well. So make sure you do check out the challenge, because in the next 7 days, if you do sign up, we'll be able to give you access.
Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You guys definitely, you don't know what you're missing. So please, I'm on so many wait lists for different things, but this is definitely one of those ones that's worth it for sure. I was going to, since I didn't order food before we started, I guess we can go in a little bit here, but Billawal was going to finish like tying up some of the ControlNet, and Taylor, if you wanted to, I know that I'm kind of hungry and tired, so you could finish that after that. But thank you all so much for hanging out with us. But please, Billawal, we were talking about something earlier. If you want to go ahead and help us out.
Yeah, I got you. Heather, thank you again for pulling this together. So we had a fun ControlNet conversation, And as with most AI conversations, we did get multimodal at the end too. So, I think we were on cue there. So just to wrap things up, there's a bunch of different, web-based tools that you heard about just to play with ControlNet. We obviously talked about Phygital. Matt shared a bunch of different tools as well. There's a ControlNet hugging space, like space that you can go play with and just like try out the various methods of control. And Linus and a bunch of us like just also pinned a couple of other cool examples. I just want to quickly shout out this Snack Pack, really awesome video here that looks like the movie Scanner Darkly. And I encourage you to follow him too, like making some awesome stuff, and is also dabbling with AI music generation as well. And oh my God, like Linus, the one you shared with motion capture combined with ControlNet, that is an absolute trip to look at. So just like we've got these amazing primitives at our disposal now to, exert control over our art generation, right? So rather than just using text, you can use images and other forms of, visual information to really realize whatever the heck it is you want to make. So I'm excited to see what people do with ControlNet there. And you best believe, yes, a couple of weeks are going to go by. More interesting things are going to happen with ControlNet. And another prediction I'll close with, somebody's going to end up making a like video to video AI pipeline that's temporally consistent off the building blocks of this stuff. So I'm guarantee there's going to be an open source alternative to Runway's Gen 1 very soon, even though that tool is very cool. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this conversation and got something about why the hell is everyone talking about ControlNet on the research side, the art side, the tech side, and will go yourselves and dabble with some of these tools and realize your own creative vision. So with that, let me hand it over to Taylor to close things out here.
Yeah, hey guys, this was an excellent conversation. So much learned. I have a toddler in the background, so I'll keep it short and quick, but make sure you definitely check out Heather's newsletter that's been pinned here. The first edition went out today. Great Easter egg in it. And also, even just on that welcome email you'll get after you subscribe, there's some good stuff in there too. So, thank you so much, Heather, for pulling this together for another week. I can't wait to see what we get into next week, whether it's video games or otherwise.
Yeah, there's always there'll be no shortage of topics. Definitely, but having these spaces and doing all this and having the ability to use these tools, I was finally able to actually produce a digital product. So I have a what's it called, AI visual toolkit. It's a creator's toolkit with just some different thing, a Notion doc that has a lot of the things that I use frequently and different links so that you can find AI art generators, some editing tools, so edit like compressors, some of the gaming assets, resources for some of the more obscure sites, and pharmapsychotic. I see you on here, and I thank you so much because I've used a lot of resources from your site, so thank you. But so it's going to have things like that on there. So I'm sorry I can't get to everybody. Marcos, I see you there, but I can't. I think I'm going to wrap it up because I'm getting a little hungry. And I'm glad that the weather permitted us to continue this full call. Sorry about the mutes there. That was me and my finger getting a little fat. But thank you so much. And everybody, look around at the people who are on this call, follow them because there's so much information and knowledge. And just, I looked at a couple people's profiles and that were speaking even. And it's just so much talent out there and so much information. And I appreciate everybody coming. And thank you, Taylor, so much for co-hosting, and all the guests, all the panelists that got up there and spoke. Matt and Linus, thank you so much for coming and spending the time with us. And Billawal, I appreciate it. Carbon, Drace, and Fidgetal, thank you so much. Orbify, I'm not sure where Benji went, but everybody here. Richard, I see you down there, and Andrea, my friends that support me all this time and that are part of this community. Thank you guys so much. And we'll do it again next Friday. And
thanks, everyone.
Let me know what's up with the
Thank
games.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Take care.